Hey, welcome to Food for Thought. I'm your host, Devon Franklin, and I'm excited. Today I have a guest. He's my brother. He's my friend. We've worked together before. We've actually done a movie together. We're developing a sequel to one of his most famous films. He is your friend, my friend, none other than Cedric the Entertainer. Now, you know how we do it here at Food for Thought. I always like to pair our dessert with our guests. So today we're gonna be making an old school berry cobbler. Because you know, Cedric is always contemporary, but he always gives you that old school comedy. So cannot wait to see what happens today. And I'm excited that you're here. Come on, let's do it.
Hey, yo.
What's
going on, bro?
What's up, man?
Welcome.
Thanks
Yes,
for coming
sir.
through, man.
You know, I
Man,
wanted to come
listen.
through. I see you got it popping.
Yeah, you know,
already.
we're doing a little, since you got the old school flavor, you
Yeah.
know, your comedy has always had that in it. So we're doing an old school blackberry cobbler.
cobbler.
Yes, sir.
You know, I love the cobblers. You know, peach everybody go to, but
Yep.
you know, this is elevated.
Yes.
Blackberry, blueberry.
Yes.
You know, I love the berries. Those are one because right now I'm doing some very. I'm antioxidants. I'm all about my antioxidants.
What's an oxidant?
I don't know. I'm just anti of that. That's the best thing
Got
I
it,
know.
got it.
A lot of people oxidant,
Yeah.
and I'm like, what are you still doing? You still oxidant? No, I anti that. And
Clearly,
so,
because
yeah.
man, you got the skin glowing. You know what I mean?
That's what it's popping about, man.
All right. So I'm gonna have you help me, but let me get you an apron, my brother.
dig it.
So all I need you to do is just put some sugar in the berries.
Okay.
That's the sugar. That's the flour and the melted butter.
And how much
And then
sugar
just
we
mix
want
them
to
up.
do?
The whole
just-
thing.
All of this sugar.
Yes. It got to be sweet, man.
Okay. I don't know why I got this little spoon.
You don't need a
What's that little
spoon.
spoon?
You just go ahead and dump it.
All right,
yeah,
I'm
see,
just
'cause
gonna look- I just wanna look busy
You know
then.
us. If
Yeah.
our cobbler's not sweet,
No,
it ain't good.
No, people gonna be talking about you all at the church. And he had
No.
that cobbler over there. That wasn't good at
But
all.
speaking of which, man, did you grow up in the church?
I did.
did?
We grew up. So in my little town where I grew up, my grandmother, Caruthersville, Missouri, Mount Carmel Missionary Baptist
Yeah.
Church. And then we moved to St. Louis, and it was just my mother and my little sister, myself. And we went Methodist for a while, and then we end up Church of Christ. So you know, so
Kojic?
no, not God in Christ.
Oh, Church of
Yeah,
oh.
of Christ. Yeah.
So what is Church of Christ?
Church of Christ. Church of Christ is it is basically it's Church of God in Christ without speaking in tongue.
Got it.
So we go everywhere. We go all the way up to
all the way there.
and then we like, oh
Nope, can't do that.
Yeah, so whatever.
Got
I don't know. I just was in the choir. I don't know. I like
you
to sing
serious?
it. Yeah.
With
Am I putting
tenor?
flower
Yeah,
in
please.
there?
Yeah, go ahead with the
Okay.
flower. Tenor?
Good. Yes, I did tenor. And then, you know, as my voice changed, I got a little older. I did went to the lower registers. So I'm gonna do the butter, the melted
just the
butter.
melted butter. Yeah. This butter,
Okay.
actually, I'll hold on to that because we're going to put that on the crust.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
So have you always been a singer?
I always sang a little bit, man. You know, that was the
And
thing.
then
My
you
mother,
can use this to mix it up.
yeah, my mother, you know, she sang in the choirs, and that became a little family thing. And our family did that too. Like we always gathered at the family, you know, gatherings. It was always that bit of get together, sing a song. I had a couple of aunts who they sang with Edwin.
Hawkins.
No, not the yeah, that's a little different. No, this was the song War. Remember this dude at the song War?
Yeah.
Good God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah, everybody know it from Jackie Chan now.
Yes,
from
yes,
that movie, but,
yeah, Rush Hour.
But that dude, Edwin Starr, I believe his name, they actually sang background for him, and that was a big family thing. We had a lot, we had a few, you know, kind of family members. One of our cousins was he was married to another cousin that was in the Impressions.
Oh.
You know, I'm so proud of you and all that
But
stuff.
you know what's interesting is this kind of helps. I've been a fan of your comedy from day one. I mean, from when you were hosting Comic View.
Yeah.
But you've always incorporated music into your sets.
Yes.
So that's, I remember the whole love and happiness,
Yeah, yeah.
Man,
But
that was so
yeah.
good, man. We literally, that was back when it was VHS tapes.
Yeah.
Man, we recorded, me and my brothers recorded that Comic View. And when I tell you, we probably played it 100 times.
That's the great thing about when you think about comedy, like how it touches people's lives.
Yeah.
And then I'll have people come up to me and say jokes that's old to me, and
Yeah.
they'll be like, "Yo, but we just watched it the other day, and it's so fresh and relevant, and
Yeah.
and it's fun to even realize that some of your jokes have that kind of longevity, like they've lasted long, where people can still, Kings of Comedy. I run when black people we run without nobody. That joke still work today, like
because it's true.
It's really a part of our culture. If somebody start running, we gonna start running.
Well, it don't matter what happens.
Yeah, we don't know. We'll find out what we was running about later.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did you have any idea that when you started in comedy that it would turn into what it has?
I can't say that I did. I definitely had a lot of, I definitely believed in myself, pretty early on in my career, and had a great belief that I could make it, but I didn't have that the ability to forecast that it would be the kind of career that I've had, like being able to do so many things, and of course feel very blessed to be doing it. Almost 40 years later, still at a very high level.
I know.
I've seen people come and go, man.
What do you think has been your key to sustain? I mean, because comedy, from my vantage point, is one of the hardest arenas to sustain that level of success for that long.
Indeed, I'd say it's the one form where it's almost like a pastor. I mean, it's like you and the audience and their opinion. Right, you don't get to do a joke and it ain't going well, and you be like, give it up for the drummer. Let the drummer get some.
Right, that ain't gonna work.
Or if you ever been to a Bobby Brown concert, you sing. No, Bobby, you sing.
Oh, no, that's funny because that does happen.
Yeah, we went to one concert and Bobby had us singing the whole night. I was like, man, I don't even know all the words to Candy Girl.
Oh, man, no disrespect to Bobby.
Yeah, no, that's my partner.
Me too.
I use him as an example.
Yes.
He know he did.
Yep.
Yeah, but I think the real key to longevity is just really caring about it. I love what I do, so I try to respect it. I really respect like when an audience spends money to come out and see me, and so and I do have a good time on stage. So that's the thing about it, like really enjoying what I do, and then just kind of taking that attitude towards the stage and having a good time with it.
When you say respect it, my interpretation of it, and I want to hear how you see it. A lot of times, there'll be sometimes where I'll go to, see comedians perform.
Yeah.
And some comedians seem like it's very apparent that they have reworked their jokes, they've studied, they've written it, and that there's a complete idea that's being conveyed through their set.
Yeah.
And then there are others, it feels like they just get up there and just say what's funny. Like, how do you navigate that? Is that respecting the craft by continuing to work on it? Or
both.
Can you be extemporaneous as well?
It's both. I think, the idea is that someone is, left their home, they've got dressed, they paid, they got, they got a parking space. You want to have, a set that you've worked on that is going to guarantee some laughs and that people are going to have a good time and that you thought about what it is that you're doing. And then at the same time, if you're inside a moment and you got some stuff happening there and people are like, flowing with you, the energy is good, then if you can dive off the, what I call let go of the handlebars. That's what I like to do.
Oh, is that right?
You just let go of the handlebars and see what happens, for a little bit, right? Sometimes, you grow up, you can let go of the handlebars and ride for a block, be like, I got it, right? Good. And then sometimes you like, all right, I'm back on. Let me do what I've been doing.
Right.
So, that's the part I do. That was something I kind of even started in my career pretty early on, this idea that every show, I'll just try to let go of the handlebars and see what happened. You know what I'm saying? Just see if I can find something new in the moment. And then, and I think that that's a real good place. Now, there are comedians that's just great at just walking out, taking a room, pulling stuff out of the room and making it work.
Is there someone who comes to mind that you say, okay, what they do, I would love to do it, or I admire that they can do it that way? Were you scared when you got it?
Yeah.
It seemed like that letter may have saved your career. Is there someone who comes to mind that you say, okay, what they do, I would love to do it, or I admire that they can do it that way?
I mean, probably the person that most comes to mind is one of my good friends is Russell Peters. I don't know, he's the Indian comedian from Canada, but he is a person that can literally walk in the room and point out things and have you say stuff to him, and then we'll literally turn it into some magic. Like I'm like,
right?
yo, bro, how you remember all of that and know like people's jobs and what they do, and then he'll just turn it in and I'll have 19, 20 jokes just plop coming out of him. So he's unique like that, you know. Mike Epps is kind of like that. Mike does a combination of things, but he definitely does. He works on his set, but then Mike is also a person that can just walk on the stage and he's just gonna dive into the crowd and see what happens, right?
I know. He's letting go of the handlebars.
Yeah, that is quite a bit. I don't even know he got handlebars on his bike.
He might. Yeah. He may not have no brakes.
Yeah, he got that. He got the unicycle. You know that fool riding a unicycle too.
That's right. Yeah. No, I didn't know that. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's funny.
You know. So man, when you are doing a set, how do you know that you got him? Or how do you know, like, ooh, I don't have him tonight?
Well, you know, I mean, laughter is always the litmus for that, man. I mean, you know, if people are sitting up there and they laughing with you and you have them and you know that crowd. Now, for me, it's often that you can kind of feel the room. If it's one, two, three people that's loving everything you say, you try to perform for those people because laughter is pretty infectious. It will start to spread. Yeah. And people like get it. Like if you know, like this is my audience right here. Yeah. Let me just kind of keep rocking with them. Right. And then people gonna get like what they on. Right. And so, but you know, it's also, you know, you can have those nights when it's not really working. And you just gotta keep digging and driving.
Do you just say, all right, well, tonight ain't my night?
I mean, you can't afford to do that anymore. Like, you know, once you kind of like, you know, a brand or a name, you can't really afford to give up on it. You got to keep trying. But it has been nights where, you know, early in my career where you got to just take your lumps, man. You know, I told the story one time about I bombed on stage and, you know, I had all these people coming to see me. Oh, and you know, it probably was a room about, you know, maybe about 80 people, small room, young in my career, but it was my night. And I'm showing off. You're like, hey, I'm letting everybody know. That's how I do it, son. Right. And had to get them people their money back, man. And I thought, you know, when I said it, I thought it was gonna be love, you know, like, hey man, I ain't really have a good night. And I'm willing to give y'all money back if you want it. And I'm thinking people gonna like, no, they're
like, cool, yeah, we love that.
No, they lying back up. You know, they was all about everybody wanted their money back, including my mama. Mama, you gonna take your money?
Man, you know, I read somewhere where your original moniker was not Cedric the Entertainer. It was Cheerio.
Yeah.
And that you got a letter from Cheerios. Yeah. That was telling you to cease and desist using that name.
Yeah, General Mills, the food company. Here. So it was at that time, it was a lot of comics kind of using like them crazy little. So it was another comedian used to go by Kodak. Yep. And then it was me, and then it was Cheerio, and then it was like one other dude that had these kind of based off food and all that kind of stuff. And so I went by Cheerio thinking, you know, Cedric, name with a C. Yep. I'm bringing cheer. You see the math? You see the math.
I'm bringing cheer.
You see the math. Well, you see how I went with it.
I see the math.
And then, so I was going by, I had the chain, the Cheerio chain, no, everything. Didn't. Come on, man. Like, you know, saying chaining day. You know, you go up like, bro, you with the
Cheerio, like, you knew that was the name.
Squad, bro, like a Rockefeller. And then they hit me with the letter, like, no, we're not really gonna go for that one.
But you must have been getting a lot of attention for them for you to be on their radar. Like, how would they even know?
Yeah, I don't even know.
That's interesting.
You know, somebody snitched on me, man. But it was official. I wish I'd have kept it. It was a very, you know, when you get an official letter, like registered, and you ain't used to getting that kind of mail, I didn't know what it was. I thought it was a check, you know, when it came all sealed up. You know, I'm like,
and you were like, hold up.
It ain't even tax return time.
You like, hey, were you scared when you got it?
Yeah.
It seemed like that letter may have saved your career.
You know what? I think it did. I mean, the idea that I feel like maybe my trajectory as a comedian was always popping, but not sure that I would have ever been able to stay with that name. You know what I mean? Like even without the letter, right? So, but my name that I do perform under was also fairly serendipitous too. Like
how did that come about?
So Cedric the Entertainer came because I just started performing as Cedric, and then I started to blow up, right? And I didn't have locally in St. Louis, and I didn't have a lot of jokes, you know. But comedy is paid in time. You do 5 to 8 minutes, you the opening act. If you can do 20 to 30 minutes, you the middle act. If you can do 30 to an hour, you the headliner, right? But I had 5 to 8 minutes of jokes, but I wanted the middle money. That was the best money. I had a job. I was a grown. Like, you know,
what was your job?
I used to work for State Farm. I was a claims adjuster for State Farm. Yeah,
so
I was
you
the
would do
original
the
Jake.
you the original Jake.
Yeah, I was the original
So you
Jake,
do that during
right?
the week, and then on weekends do comedy clubs.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And so you know, I wanted that middle money, and so I would sing. I would do a whole poem. I would do a dance routine. I would do anything to fill up the 20 minutes. So I would always tell people. So when the guy was introducing these comedians one night, he was like, this next comedian this, and this next comedian that. And I was like, don't call me a comedian, call me an entertainer, because I don't really have enough jokes to be considered a comedian. And I just told him to call me entertainer, and he introduced me as Cedric the Entertainer. And then I went up, I rocked it, I got a standing ovation. When I got off stage, he called me Cedric the Entertainer again, and I said, all right, that's my name. I just kept it. That was it.
Just like that.
Just like that.
How many years ago was that?
Oh man, it was 87, 88 maybe. So
Man.
yeah.
But it's amazing how all these things, because someone getting a letter like that would think, oh, wait a minute. You know what I mean? Am I gonna be able to do this? Is this right? But to continue to go ahead but then also to know enough about yourself, say, hey, don't call me comedian. You know what I mean? I don't want that expectation.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it's like, oh, bet, Cedric the Entertainer.
Yeah, exactly. Because that was the thing too, because it was definitely paying respect. Of course, we had, you know, the greats, you know, Richard Pryor's and the, you know, and the Red Foxes at the time, Eddie Murphy, the Wayans were coming into, you know, to the light around and then. And so, you know, like to be considered a comedian, you had to be bad. Like you had to be, I was like, I'm not that. I'm not that. I'm gonna do a whole show though. Like, you know, I'm gonna sing all of Luther for this.
All of it.
Yeah, I mean,
all of the songs.
Are you gonna be? So you gonna be? Are you gonna be? Well.
Exactly.
Well, I'm gonna get right off at 25. Thank y'all.
Oh man,
like, boy, you did your time.
Hey.
You did your time.
No matter how you did it, you did it.
Give me that loop.
Is that what has made your comedy so, you know, dynamic in terms of just bringing the storytelling element to it and because there aren't always a lot of jokes.
Yeah.
You know, I even go back to, again, like that one special from Comedy View that I love.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, oh, I'm going to take a story about Al Green and this song.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you a story.
Paint the picture.
And paint the picture.
Yeah.
You know, has that always been an intentional part of it? Or
that's kind of just my ideas, the way I see it. It's very observational, right? So when I'm talking about that, you know, I'm thinking about him writing this song. Like, you know, and I'm like who just started out with the
Yep.
He wasn't even saying, what was Al Green doing when that happened? He was sitting up doing something else. It's like, oh, something's going wrong. Somebody's on the phone.
What time is it?
It's 3 o'clock in the morning.
Hey.
Yeah. What they doing out? They talking about. You might as well ask him. He gonna tell you the and that's it. You start to realize like, oh, that's a funny way of observing like somebody doing something great and then just make the joke out of it. That's been a way of mine for a long time.
That years ago, the first movie that I did when I became a studio executive when I was at MGM was Be Cool.
Okay.
You know,
Man.
So like having you know, in that movie, I was like, wow, here you are. It's not just about stand-up. It wasn't just about TV.
Yeah.
It was also about movies. You know, was that always part of the plan to, you know, as an entertainer, conquer all forms of entertainment?
Oh, definitely. I mean, the name kind of like, in a way, pushed me toward that for sure. Yeah. Like, you know, but, you know, it was one of those things that I always trusted. I studied acting in high school and college, and yet, you know, comedy kind of led the way for me. So I never really like, in a way, locked into being an actor until I got opportunities to act. And so, you know, something like Be Cool is always, again, one of my favorite movies I always quote because if Gary Gray, you know, looked at me as something different. He saw the humanity in me, and so he didn't want me to just play a regular old comedic role. He was like, no, you can do this, and you can deliver this monologue I got, and all of that. And so, you know, when you get those kind of moments, I think that's the thing that we really kind of miss inside our business, is that you can fall into, you know, a prototype or archetype of a character or something, and people are just gonna always try to cast you as that. And then we can see each other and be like, nah, Sid actually could be this, right?
Absolutely.
And I think that was really why that's one of my favorite roles, because Gary was like, no, you can kill this. I was like,
and you did. You did,
I love
man.
That. Seeing the side.
It was so good. You know, with Andre and the crew and you know what I mean?
And the whole, you know, I went to Wharton, but I'm like the street, you know, my head mobbing in the streets. I love the combination. That's us.
Man.
All these dichotomies of a human being is very much our culture, which we don't have to explain to each other, but we have to kind of explain it in the bigger, you know, in the bigger atmosphere of Hollywood. Like, no, that's a person that's went to Wharton, study, but he at the same time, he'll pull up on you. Right. Like, don't get it twisted. We know people like that. Like that's a real dude.
Yeah, man. Like, I will never forget being, you know, at the studio at that time. Because I think that was actually, it was right after Barbershop had, you know, come out and, you know, obviously blew up. And then it was like, man, you think we can get Sid? And, you know, you read the script and you were in, and what you did in the movie, I was, man, you helped my career.
That's dope.
Because that movie was successful and that helped me, you know, navigate the studio system, man. Because that was the first one that I had ever worked on.
Yeah, no, that's been dope. I mean, and the opportunity, of course, we got stuff coming in the future and been steady busy, but that's great, man. Yeah. Watching your trajectory as well. So, I mean, I'm a big fan. So, you know, we've been killing it, man.
I know, man. But one of the things that I've always admired about you is, beyond entertainment, your heart for the community, you know, has always seemed to be as big as your persona.
Yeah.
You know, where does that come from? Why are you so committed to, I know your schedule's crazy, but, you know, time and time again, seeing you at events, seeing you open your home, you know, when, you know, we were navigating so many challenges in the business and in the world as it relates to our people, and you opened your home to hundreds of people to come and organize.
Outside, though.
Yeah, outside.
Yeah, outside.
It was outside.
Big outside.
But you got a big outside.
No, but I think, you know, the real key for me, man, is growing up. I think, you know, growing up in St. Louis, single parent household, like I said, but my mother was a school teacher, and not one that just taught in class. She was a reading specialist. So she loved to make sure she could help people read, adults, kids. So then we would have relatives come stay with us. You know, she just was that kind of personality. And so I think, you know, I embraced a lot of that idea of recognizing that, you know, where you can help somebody, you can, you know, to each one teach one thing, where you can get involved, do so, you know, and then, you know, I try to do that again at my own pace, not at even though it'll probably appear that I'm at a lot of things.
Sure.
For me, it's only in the things that I can, you know, tolerate and actually deal with, because I'm also a father and a husband, you know, and so I make sure that all of these things are balanced out. But I just got straight love for my community, my people, people who are good folks, you know. Usually if somebody out here doing good work and they good people, then you trying to hold them down too, because you know that energy comes back your way. And I feel like that's really been, you know, the kind of wave that I ride through my career, the idea that I throw out so much good karma, that so many good things come my way, that I got abundance. I got abundance to give. I got abundance to show back. I got abundance to receive. It's just abundance all around me. So I embrace that, man. Like that.
You know, it's interesting. You just confirmed a thought that I had about how I want to approach my next relationship.
Okay.
So when you're at home, you know, does Lorna cook or you cook, or who does the cooking?
Lorna is an amazing cook, so she does most of the cooking in the house, man. You know, I'll jump in every now and then, throw some on the grill or whatever, but for the most part, like Lorna is like, she's amazing. And it was interesting because she doesn't eat meat at all, you know.
She's vegan?
Never. She's a pescatarian, so she'll eat some fish.
Okay.
But never since we've been married has she eaten meat. But one of the first things that pulled me in was she did these lamb chops. And I was like, I didn't even know how you do it. I was like, how do you know this, boy? I don't know all up in that chop, boy.
And she's never eaten meat, but she knew how to make the lamb chop.
But she knows how. So she's like got that, you know, that touch for, you know, just making food, sense of smell, knowing those fragrances, knowing what she wants in there. But so, and she said she used to eat it like when she was much younger. So she kind of knows what she thinks should be in there and kind of goes off that. But
man.
But I'm winning.
You are. How long you been married?
24 years in September.
24
years. Man.
I mean, first of all, what's the key to make it work?
Yeah.
And then second of all, you know, I've said this before, right? So a couple weeks ago, I preached a sermon. I've been preaching on, you know, one of one and what it means to be an individual, what it means to be single.
Yeah.
And I said something like, you know, in my experience, sometimes, you know, women will be attracted to the gift and the purpose and the ambition of a man.
Yeah.
And then they get with him, and then that ambition becomes a conflict for the relationship.
Yeah.
So, you know, and people are like, oh, well, we never thought about it. I say, I said, but the thing that attracted you to us or to me, you know, how can that then become an obstacle? You know, in your life, you know, being married for 24 years, being ambitious, having an incredible career, you know, how do you navigate that?
Yeah, you know, I think that, you know, that's one that, you know, I think I just recognize that my wife is very solid in who she is. She's just kind of one of these people that's super comfortable in who she is as a person, even to the point that, you know, she didn't really know who I was. I was doing a whole lot of pursuing. I had to pursue this situation a lot.
Where did you see her?
I met her on a movie set in my very first movie. So I thought I was famous, but she was a wardrobe, you know, stylist and, you know, costumer person, you know, that did that.
What was the first movie?
do this Ride.
Ride. Okay.
So John Witherspoon and Malik Yoba. So anyway, we were doing the pickups out here in LA, and, you know, and we had shot most of the movie in Jacksonville. So at this point, I'm thinking I'm a movie star, and, you know, she does this all the time, like she got TV shows, in and out. So I'm thinking this going down. You know, I'm like, how you doing? You know, take my number down. She's like, what, little boy?
For what?
I don't do that. I don't play like that. You realize, like, oh, this is her job. She's like, I don't play like that. You know, I was like, oh, wow. So I just happened to run into her a couple of weeks later at a restaurant out, you know, started the whole thing up from then, like just kind of had to reintroduce, had to re-pursue, had to like walk her down. Like I had to walk her ass down. Like, listen, woman.
Do you realize who I am?
You need to do this.
You about to miss out.
You need to get on board. I hate to do your story again wrong.
You trying to make it in right?
Yeah, I'm trying to get your story in right. You got a story that you telling.
What was it about her that caught your eye?
You know, I think again, it was definitely a sincerity, but a real sweetness, and she was from LA, so it was like one of these non-LA women that you kind of think of. She was a real LA girl with a mom and dad, and grew up here, and just had a very in a way Midwestern kind of sensibility about her that I appreciated. She was her own person. She was always had something going on, was busy, didn't really need me, wasn't waiting around, had her own money, wasn't sitting around needing me to wasn't none of that. I had to catch up. Every time I had to catch up to the things she knew, the people she knew, why she knew them, what was popping. So you realize, man, this lady is resourceful. She's solid. She's super quiet. Yeah. Even now, Lorna ain't on social media, none of that. Like, people be like,
she's not on social media?
No, people's like, yo, that's your wife? I'll be like, yeah, you would think I'll just be lying because you'll never see her. So she shows up on something. She don't want to be on my social media. Like, you don't see Lorna unless I just like overdo it and just like, I'll be trying to get my numbers up. I'll be like, they go to wife, baby.
There she is.
And then my numbers go up. Everybody like, there she is.
You know what's interesting? You just confirmed a thought that I had about how I want to approach my next relationship.
Okay.
Because that idea of, maybe keeping the relationship more private, keeping the relationship for ourselves.
Yeah.
Versus, keeping it for ourselves, but also sharing it with the world.
Yeah, man.
Coming out of my relationship, I was like, man, next time I do this, I really want to keep that for me as best I can do that.
It's got to be, it's definitely something of value to it. I would say that because we definitely live in a world where, the opinions of others they can infiltrate inside the psyche. But if you got enough people socially having an opinion, having,
Yes.
And even pushing you towards that, you'll start to find out like you're questioning things that wouldn't even be a thing that was real to you at any time. Like you'd be like, no, I don't know this person to be like that at all. But that is the world that we live in, and I really appreciate that. Like, that's just not a part of our relationship in any way. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I would imagine in the circumstances where notoriety is pertinent and important and a part of the makeup, these things do tend to kind of cross. And of course, just invite unwanted guests into your home. How about that? Like, that's it.
And that's what it is.
Yeah, by the millions.
Yeah, by the millions.
By the millions.
And I did not know, I just was not aware in that way that I am now, or sensitive in the way that I am now. Like, it's cool to post this or say that or let people know here's what we're doing or what we aren't doing. It's like, and that has its place.
Sure.
But, when I do it again,
right,
I really want to take what you and Lorna have done and really apply that to how I navigate, marriage in this second season.
You got to be aware of all that. I remember one time I was like eating vegan for a while and then got caught eating. So I stopped posting my food.
Exactly.
Like that.
It's like, wait a minute, I want to eat what I want to eat.
Like, you be like, oh, yeah, I want to post that. Like, yo, this dope. And then it's like, say it, I thought you was vegan. You like,
well, I was yesterday.
Dang, okay, I'm at Nobu right now. Can I live?
Speaking of food, man, let's take this thing out the oven.
Okay, let's see what
we got. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah, you got the crispiness.
Yeah, it's a little something, man. Let's hand me you feel that? Okay. Hand me a plate. Let's see what we got here. Now, sometimes we get them, sometimes we don't. So we gonna keep it real.
Oh, sometimes we don't hit it.
Sometimes.
Is this recipe from anywhere?
Yes, man. This brother Williams.
Okay.
And he has a page on Facebook called Old School Cooking.
Okay.
And this recipe came from him. I found it during the pandemic. And I would make this during the pandemic. And let me tell you, like it,
Brother Williams.
Brother Williams, man.
He sound like he about to go up in front of the church and ask for prayer. Hey, Brother Williams, will you come up here?
Brother Williams, you know what I mean? Come do the benediction. Oh man! All right, man. Let's see how we doing here. You know what I'm saying?
Got over here, man.
See what we got.
I know we got all the right elements in there. We got butter, sugar.
Yes, butter, sugar, flour.
Flour.
You know what I mean?
Bon appetit.
Let's see. Bon appetit.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Okay, Brother William.
I told you, man. This recipe is.
Brother William.
Man.
He prayed before we did this.
He sure did. Excellent.
That is fire.
You like it?
That's fire.
Yeah, man.
There ain't no doubt about that.
Right?
That ain't no doubt about this one right here. This right here. I can get this at a kid birthday party.
Dude, I'm gonna just give me a little more crust, man.
Those little children. They be, where my cake at? No, you're gonna have some of this blueberry cobbler.
Right.
Yeah, Tasha.
Oh, Tasha. Yeah. Man.
Ooh. Yeah.
I'm not much of a cook when it comes to bacon.
Other stuff?
That's my thing.
You like bacon?
I love it. Absolutely love it. You know, one of the things that I've always been fascinated about with you,
Fantastic.
thank you, is a bird and a bear. You and Eric.
Yeah, man.
What I believe is that anyone who reaches the heights of success in our business in entertainment has to have a partner that sees them, that works with them, and that helps them, achieve that level of success. And your partner, Eric, has done that.
Yeah, man.
How did you guys come together, and how have you been able to endure so long?
That is one of the probably more unique relationships. We met in college.
What college was that?
It was Southeast Missouri State. So it was Cape Girardeau, Missouri. I was a sophomore. He came in as a freshman. I always joke that he came in on some guide right program, thugs that go to school or something. Because he was from one of them super Pine.
Oh, is that right?
St. Louis hood, and at some point in time, the government started saying, let me send all you thugs to college. Because they came down there, him and his boy, they thought they was getting ready to knock me out my room and become roommates. They was
just like, wait, this is not how this works.
They just gonna punk me and I gotta go move somewhere else.
Right.
That's what they had in their mind. But we hit it off immediately, became great friends. And as I started to build my career, a lot of people wanted to be my manager along the way. Of course, all the different people that work at the Foot Locker that know how to manage,
Right. Right.
But Eric was one of those people that would come up to me, he was studying business and then he was just like, anything you need. So basically, he started making phone calls for me, booking shows around. We started booking all around colleges, everywhere in the St. Louis area, Illinois area. And so it just became a thing of do what you say you're going to do, from the TV shows to the movie business. I did Broadway for a very small run, but I wanted to do big theater. And he was like, all right, cool. So we found a David Mamet play. I did American Buffalo with John Leguizamo and Haley Joel Osment. That was dope.
That is dope.
We just been, and then, I had the idea of doing this book when I was, in COVID, really just kind of sitting around. I had this whole
Where did it come from?
Babe Boyce is my grandfather's name.
That's his real name?
Yeah, his real name. Yeah, Floyd Babe Boyce. So it was stories that my mother and my uncles would tell me about him. He had passed long before I was born. And yet, growing up as a young man, I just could identify with him for some reason. I could hear his voice. I could see his dress style. I knew what he smelled like sometimes. It was just this connection to, this character that, and my mother would describe him, with this such adoration. And he was a businessman, an entrepreneur, and a hustler, and he lived in the underworld. He was a little bit of gangster energy, you know what I'm saying? Like he was a guy that had to operate in, pre-civil rights, post-World War II America, like that very Jim Crow Southern area, but where he's just not getting ready to be somebody's boy. Grilling, barbecuing, it's so cultural. And lately it's just been appropriated. Like you see the dope barbecue people, they all white dudes from Texas. Yep. And we like, huh? That's us.
That's us.
My mother would describe him, with this such adoration, and he was a businessman, an entrepreneur, and a hustler, and he lived in the underworld. He was a little bit of gangster energy, you know what I'm saying? Like he was a guy that had to operate in, pre-civil rights, post-World War II America, like that very Jim Crow Southern area, but where he's just not getting ready to be somebody's boy, though. So, I think, so from there, I just took the idea of fictionalizing his world and started to write it as a novel. And so that's how the idea kind of manifested.
Who was Cedric Kyles? I'm like,
so I like it.
Was it hard to write a novel?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think, one of the things that I use my strength, of writing television shows and being a part of TV shows, producing them and writing them. And so I started this idea really as an outline for a series. Like I was thinking about like Boardwalk Empire. I love Devil in a Blue Dress, the movie, that whole feel of that 40s guys that's out in the middle of things trying to make stuff happen. And, this is the world that they have to live in, right? And so that was the outline of the story. And so when the opportunity came, again, we're in COVID, nobody's really doing anything. And the book opportunity came across and I was like, oh, it's perfect. It's perfect for that. So I pitched it to them like, yo, this is the concept. These are a few pages. they ate it up and was like, let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go. So, Flipping Boxcars was born. We went through a whole thing for the name.
Oh yeah, where did that come from?
The name is really about, he was a gambler, and then it's a bootleg liquor crime that's happening, caper, that's happening with railroad boxcars. But on the dice, if you roll 2 6s, it's called a boxcar. So, he's got a old gambling side of the story, and then this other side of the story where he's doing this caper with the railroad boxcars. So we flipping boxcars.
Man, that's dope.
Yeah.
That's dope. Do you look at it and are you like proud of it? You're like, wow.
Man, dude, the moment I had to read the audio book, and it became very clear what I had accomplished. Because when you're in the process of doing it, you're just kind of doing it. Like, it's like producing a film. Like while you're doing it, you just in it.
Yep.
And it don't really matter until you kind of kick back and go like,
right.
You know what?
That's
all right.
Yeah.
And that's
I did all right.
That's how it was. Once I kind of read the audio book and did the reading, and kind of was going through the story myself all over again, hearing it. I was like, man, I'm really proud of this. I'm proud of the book. I'm proud of what it's accomplished. The story that's being told, the legacy to my family and the heritage of my family, even in a fictional way, is such a unique way to recognize your family and give your family this ideology of something to live for. And so that's what, I thought it was great, one of my kids or whatever, they get to grow up and take the time to read this. The opportunity of seeing like this story being told and realizing like, yo, that hustle, that get up and get to it, go get it, that's in you.
Yeah, that's in the lineage.
Yeah.
There are two things I want to just ask quickly. As you were talking, I was like, wow, okay. So sitcom, movies, stage, Broadway.
Yeah.
Now, first novel.
Yeah.
You and Anthony have launched this, barbecue company. Can you tell me more about that? And is there anything else you have not done that you want to do?
Hey, man, you know what? I'll talk to you about AC Barbecue real quick, man. So Anthony Anderson and I, we've been friends many years. We go on these golf trips and we would rent a house. It'd be a group of us. We all, a bunch of dudes, friends. And me and Anthony would do most of the cooking. And so, we saw a lot of our friends doing tequila brands and marketing, trying to figure out how to get it. We was trying to think of something like that felt more authentic to us. Sure. And of course, grilling, barbecuing, it's so cultural. And lately it's just been, kind of appropriated. Like if you really think about it, if you see the dope barbecue people, they all white dudes from Texas. Yep. And we like, huh? That's us. That's us. So we really love the idea of creating a barbecue brand that felt like it was community, that it was about like the idea of people going out cooking, grilling, having friends over, the celebration of that energy, and not necessarily to be like, we gonna be the #1 barbecue sauce. We really about the culture of it. And so AC Barbecue was born. And we really kind of talk about that's the motivation why we do it. We really love the idea that barbecue is something that's super culturally strong for us. Yeah. And at the same time, we know that it's different in South Carolina than it is in St. Louis. We know that the Texas people do theirs a certain way, and then LA is a little bit of combination of everything. And so we wanted to celebrate that. And so we feature a lot of pit masters. We feature people that do this a lot. So, and then we have them use our brand and show, and we started growing it. So that's what we got, man. We got Rubs in Walmart. We in like 3,000 Walmarts.
3,000 Walmarts?
Yeah, man. We got Lowe's and Home Depot coming up. The sauces are coming in the third quarter. We just closing the deal to do restaurants on college campuses. So we'll have some restaurants, and then we'll do tools, knives, spatulas, everything. So we Martha Stewart this junk, man.
So you actually don't even need comedy anymore.
Hopefully not yet. Yeah,
but it's like you just do it because it's fun.
Yeah, exactly. But that's it, man. So But it's been a blessing, man, to be able to like be creative and find something also outside of the business that still feels like a part of exactly who I am. It's not like me stretching, trying to, you know,
be something you're not.
Sell y'all socks, you know what I'm saying, or something, you know.
Right.
So
and is there anything you haven't done you want to do?
You know, I'm still looking for a really unique, dramatic role or character role that I think that my audience can follow me in. I don't really feel like I've ever had, you know, I've had opportunities to do small dramatic roles or scenes, but never something that I believe that, you know, I think of the great comedians like, you know, Rich Pryor, of course, and Robin Williams, the late Robin Williams. These guys took their comedic chops and go over it. Even somebody like John Goodman, who we met on as a even though he's not a stand-up, we met him on a comedy, and then yet he shows up in movies so unique and great. And that's the thing that I feel like I'm just looking for something like that that'd be where my audience could be like, yo, this dude is like really, really diverse, and I just looking for that one thing. I've directed, so you know, I want to, you know, I probably want to direct something else again.
Okay,
you know? But you know that what I learned in directing is that that's the hardest job in the whole thing, because you start before everybody do, you do the project, and then you there afterwards. Everybody, I was like, I remember the first time I directed, I was like, all right, you know, I yelled rap, okay. See everybody, they was like, no, sir.
No, you're the director.
You'll be at work tomorrow.
That's right, we going.
I was like, everybody leaving?
That's it. Just direct.
I was like, oh man, I was like, that's a different one right there. And Ice Cube told me that too afterwards. He did,
is that right?
After he did Players Club, he was like, I don't know about that.
He's like, I don't know about that directing. Yeah, that directing is
it's a
hard,
different beast.
Man. Is there ever a deal that could bring a version of the Kings of Comedy back?
Probably. You know, it's been something presented to me recently that I thought is probably the proper way to do it. I mean, of course, we always, you know, struggle with like what to do about the Bernie Mac of it all. Like for us, you know, especially for all the guys, B was like, you know, he's just our partner in the group. And so, you know, like somebody go like, oh, who could replace him? We like, nobody even like that idea. So it'll be this idea of being able to take footage from B Mac and give him his shine in a very unique way inside the space and do it. And so, but somebody presented the idea the other day, and you know, we always, the biggest thing, me and DL, we work together all the time. We try to do it. And Harvey is the one that just got like 150 million jobs and $800 million or so. He'd be like, what's that little thing y'all doing?
What y'all want to do?
What's that little movie? Like, man, come on, don't little manners, man. Come on, get off the helicopter.
That's it. Come on, Harv. Come on.
Get off the yacht, man, and come talk to your boys. Nah, that's my guy right there. But this idea is something that, you know, I did talk to him and he kind of perked up too. And I think it'll allow us to do it in a unique way. And then still deliver some comedy and some stand up. Man, I think that's the key.
We need it, man. Y'all can bring a lot of people together through it.
That'll be a beautiful thing. I look forward to it too.
Yeah, man. So, you know, before I end every episode, you know, usually what I learned growing up is when my grandmother would put something in the oven, she'd pray over it.
Oh, yes, sir.
What do you need prayer for?
Oh man, you know, I think, you know, again, I love to pray for this world that we're living in right now. So much anger and edginess on so many levels. I think that, you know, the people just need to really operate from a space of civility. I love to, you know, to pray for, you know, my family at all times. You know, my kids are in college. My son is, you know, trying to transition out of college and just like find himself exactly as he is as a young man. You know, and I just really look for that healing. Of course, you know, all of this trouble that's going on in the Middle East, all the nonsense that's going on in our politics. You know, I just think that, you know, that is leading to a divisiveness in this world that is allowing us to not to recognize the humanity in each other and simply operate from a place that's humane. And then I think that, you know, I think that kind of spirit, man, if we could just blanket the world with that, it'd be as good as this blueberry cobbler, man.
Man, well, let's do it. Let's do it, man. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you, dear Lord, so much for this conversation, dear God. We're so honored, dear Lord, that you would be here with us. We thank you, dear God, for your son, Cedric, and all that he has done in the world and continues to do. We Pray, dear Lord, for his prayer requests for peace in the world, dear God. There's so much going on. We pray, dear Lord, that there would be peace in the Middle East and that there would be peace here, and that even in politics, we pray, dear God, that there can still be disagreement, but that disagreement can still be done with respect. Let us get back to a place of civility, dear Lord. I pray for Cedric's family. I pray for his son. I pray you would meet him exactly where he is and give him the direction that he is seeking. I pray that you would give Cedric assurance that you have his son right where you need him to be.
Yes.
And that you, dear Lord, are guiding his son everywhere he has to go. I pray right now for Cedric and his family and his wife and his home. I pray that you would bless him as he comes in, as he goes out, dear Lord. And I am believing that you have that role that has been in his heart, dear God. So we're praying for the part. We're praying for that dramatic role that allows him to show a dynamic that you have given him, dear God. And I pray that he would know that he is loved and that he is appreciated and that he is valued. This is our prayer. In the name of Jesus, I pray.
Amen. Amen, man.
Thank you, bro. You're welcome, brother. Man. Wow, wasn't that a good conversation with my brother, Cedric the Entertainer? It was fascinating to me that he had a previous name and got that letter from General Mills that said, hey, you got to stop using the name Cheerio. And then that set him up to become who we know him to be today. Here's some food for thought. The only limitations you have are the limitations that you put on yourself. When you look at someone like Cedric, he is a novelist and he is a stand-up comedian and a movie star and a TV star. Why? Because here, there are no limits. My food for thought for you is to take off the limits. What would happen if you lived with no restrictions? What would happen if you just said, I'm going to take ownership over every gift I have and let God do the rest? I believe when you do that, your life's going to another level. So don't allow your misconception of yourself to create a prison that prevents you from being everything God created you to be. I love you. There's nothing you can do about it. And I'm praying for your success each and every day.